Before we begin the video, if you haven't yet, come on down and join my Discord server. Link is down in the description. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for my final thoughts, my full review on Ninjago Season 14, The Island. In this video, I'll just be sharing my full thoughts of the season from start to finish, so we'll kind of go through every seed, every character, and pretty much every plot point. Let's get started. So in the very first seed, we see Wu Misako and Clutch powers, and well, Clutch is my least favorite character in the entire series. Back in Season 11, it really felt like a slap in the face to bring back this popular character, and completely changed the way he was just for a quick laugh. Now in this season, he isn't as bad, and he does have a few funny lines here and there, but that doesn't mean I like him. I still feel like he's really annoying, and personally, I don't really care too much about this character. To me, it'll never really make sense why they didn't just make this a brand new character, instead of just taking Clutch powers, erasing his personality, and replacing it. Again, to me, I'll never really understand that. But anyways, so again, Clutch is okay in this season. He doesn't suck, but definitely not good either. Okay, then we have Wu. He doesn't really do too much, but I've seen complaints that this season doesn't do the final seed of Season 13 justice. I've seen some people say that this season doesn't really follow up on the wherever the wind will take us, and I do have to say there is a really subtle detail that I love about Wu. He's back to exploring. He goes on this adventure with Misako and Clutch powers, and that's definitely a product of his Season 13 development, which I think is great continuity. Besides that, Wu doesn't really do too much in this season, but that's fine. He did more in Season 13, and I guess the same can be said about Misako as well. She doesn't really do too much either, but at the same time, I don't really know if there was anything more for her to do. So Wu and Misako, they both kind of exist, and they're both fine. I don't really have any problems. I also appreciate the return of Dwayne the Intern and the Explorers Club British guy, although he completely seems to have forgotten how the ninja destroyed the place in Season 11. But yeah, I mean, I like seeing both of them back. Good continuity. So yeah, the first seed of this season was really good. It rocked. But yeah, moving on, I really like how this season continues the story of the Cryptarium breakout from Prime Empire. You've heard me mention the word continuity a few times, but this season really is successful in two ways. It continues past stories from previous seasons, but obviously it also sets up new ones for future seasons. You really couldn't ask for more. But yeah, I enjoy the Fugitive reference, and I also like how, again, the season continues this unresolved story from Season 12. Anyways, then we meet one of two new characters in this season. His name is Twitchy Tim. This is a character I feel like is very okay. I have mixed feelings about him. I feel like he was kind of intended to be comic relief, but I don't really find him funny. I also don't think his short-term memory loss thing is really, it's kind of bizarre. But my biggest gripe with this character is I feel like there was a lot of potential, but they don't really deliver. They don't really have enough time to deliver. They give him the story where he goes from a coward to a confident individual, but there is no in-between. There's no transition from point A to point B. One moment he is scared and refuses to go with Lloyd. The next moment we see him using a catamaran single-handedly to destroy Ronin. This is a huge change, and for it to happen off screen just isn't good. I don't necessarily fault the writers because, again, this has a lot of potential. This is a really good idea. The story of someone going from a scared person to fearless, kind of, you know? But I do fault the length of the season definitely as a drawback or a limitation. If this was a full season, I definitely wouldn't be complaining, and the story probably would be good. I also feel like we don't know enough about how the island impacted Tim. What was he like before the island, and how did this fear impact his life after? At the start of the season, he doesn't really seem scared until they bring up the island. I also think it would have helped if they had shown his encounters on the island with the Golems and how he had to hide and flee, rather than just telling, because showing is often better and more effective than telling. So those are my thoughts on Tim. I really think they tried, and I think there was good content or ideas, but the main drawback here is that this season was 4 episodes, and there just wasn't enough time. So I feel like he's just an okay, meh character. Anyways, though, moving on, Pixel is in this season. She does a bit more than she did in the previous season, but not much, and again, I feel like it's okay, I don't really care. And then we see this scene where they sail in on their boats, and I really love this. I felt like it was so creative. It was animated nicely. It was very fun to watch, and it's kind of a shame we don't get to see more of the boats in this season, but what we saw here was really good. So that's pretty much the first episode. Also, the jungle bikes are nice too. But then we get to see the season's intro. Personally, I like it. I think the music is really good. It's a bit slow, but the animation is nice. The visuals are really good. And I personally, I've seen a lot of people who dislike this intro. Personally, I disagree. I think it's good. Anyways, then we get to meet Zippy. Zippy is pretty cool. I like how he's different from past dragons. He's way more playful. And I think all in all, he makes for some pretty casual scenes, which is definitely welcome considering how fast-paced this special is. But yeah, Zippy's cool. He's kind of cute or charming, and I like him. And then we get this great fight, the ninja versus the stone golems. Definitely the best fight of this season. And I think all in all, the stone golems are super cool. There's always some sort of monster or monsters in a Ninjago season, and this time it's the stone golems. Especially compared to past monsters, these guys feel very unique. I think the idea is super creative, this idea of them being living stone statues, and for those reasons, I think they're pretty awesome. Again, the fight was great. I love how they can reflect powers, and I love the way they look. It's never really explained what they are, though. Their backstory didn't make it to the show. The book said that they were made by the first Fujitsu master to guard the amulet, but for some reason, I don't know why, probably because of time, this wasn't explained in the show. After this, we meet the Keepers, and it is here we meet the second new character of this season, Chief Mammotus, who, weirdly enough, his name is actually never mentioned in this season. He's alright, he's got a good voice, they all have good designs, but he basically just fills the role of the mistaken villain until Ronin shows up later, and there's just not really much going on to this character, but I do feel like he'll probably be back in Seabound. He gives some nice monologues and stuff, but that's kind of all he does. Yeah, again, he's decent, he's definitely not bad, but he's not really great either. He just doesn't really have enough of a personality or do enough for me to consider him so, but with his likely return in Season 15, he probably will get better. Let's discuss the backstory of this season next. So this season establishes a lot of concepts, such as Wajira, the amulets, the Keepers, and their connection with the first Fujitsu master, but it doesn't really go into depth about these ideas, right? It's a lot of basic information. This season introduces stuff, but doesn't explore it too much. And I feel like this season excels in its main purpose as they set up for Season 15. It's something that this season does a great job at. So yeah, that's episode 2. For episode 3, The Gift of Jay, there really isn't too much new stuff to discuss there. That episode was okay. It wasn't bad, but probably my least favorite. It just wasn't as interesting, I guess. But this episode does focus on Lloyd and Jay. And yeah, those two are probably the most focused on in this season. Lloyd has some nice solo action moments. And Jay is the sacrifice. He's got some more casual moments in this episode. Although it's never really explained why he specifically is the sacrifice. We can infer it's because of his lightning power. But again, the show fails to address this. Both ninja were fine. Good, not great, nothing really special, but still good, which as you're seeing is kind of a common trend with the island. Anyways, the actual sacrifice is done well. I really appreciate how they don't really emotion bait here. In the past, Ninjago has a tendency to try and exploit our feelings, such as in Dead Man's Squall, The Fall, and Zane's fake-out death in Prime Empire, and I don't like it. I don't like it when they emotion bait. It's just not really good. Generally, it's just kind of cheap. But yeah, back to the actual sacrifice. Right away, we learned that Wajira is fake. So yes, the ninja are sad, but we as the audience, we know right away what's going on. Admittedly, the reveal of Wajira as a criminal ship is a bit underwhelming. It's kind of sad to think that the fearsome mighty keepers have been getting scammed by petty criminals all this time. The final fight is also a bit of a mess. The dialogue is very clunky and unnatural, and the Twitchy Tim ex machina at the end is horrible. Probably the worst part of the season could have easily been fixed by having it be the entire Keeper army instead of just Tim. And then there's Ronin. Ronin is an interesting subject. Definitely a lot of mixed reception about him. You see, a lot of people feel like this season ruins Ronin. It ruins his development in Season 5. And the thing is, this season was hardly the first to do that. I mean, this complaint isn't wrong. It's right, but the exact same thing can be said about Skybound. You might disagree, but I interpret Ronin's story in Season 5 as a redemption, basically. He learns to be less greedy, he learns to value people and befriends the ninja, and then in Season 6, right after, he decides to hunt down the ninja to make money. So you see, Season 14 Ronin is really no different than Season 6 Ronin, and I like Ronin, I feel like he's fun, but he's just not a well-written character, and he hasn't been since Season 5. So I feel like complaints against Season 14 Ronin are valid, but those complaints also should be applied to Season 6. And people generally don't really have an issue with Ronin and Skybound, but subtly do when he's exactly the same in season 14, which definitely is this new Ninjago bias. Personally, I feel the same way about him as I do in any other season. I enjoy him, he's fun to watch, but he's still very inconsistent with how he was in possession. So that's Ronin, same as he's always been. And that leaves one final thing to discuss here, the final scene. This scene confirms that Wojira is real and shows us what she looks like. I felt like this was a great scene, great music, great camera work, but also really gets you excited. I felt like it was the perfect way to end off the season, ominous but also very exciting as well. And so I'm going to give this season a 7.5 out of 10. As I've said, I feel like this was a decent season, good but not great, enjoyable but nothing really special. I felt that it was worse than season 13 and 12, but definitely better than 10 and 11. And you know, this season wasn't really supposed to be anything that great. It was just supposed to be a setup, which as I said is a job it does very well. And so season 15, definitely going to be the highlight of this year. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone and everyone you know. Share your thoughts on Ninjago the Island below, and I'll see you next time.